So I was out on my GP 1800R and blew out a clutch. The supercharger clutch no longer works anymore, so I'm going to do a replacement on that today. And I think I'll start it up real quick so you can hear what it sounds like when the supercharger clutch goes out. I'm going to give it a quick start for you. Got the lids off. Let's go ahead and see what she sounds like. It does not like having that supercharger clutch not working. So basically, supercharger's not spinning, so it's not putting any extra air into the motor. So it's probably going to end up running rich, and in return, it's not actuating the blow-off valve either right here. So I'm gonna go ahead and dig into this thing and kind of take you step by step on how to replace one. So first order of business is getting the blow-off valve removed there, but before I do that, I want to just kind of show you what came in this kit. So it comes with a couple of new bolts to tighten down or secure your timing chain tensioner. Obviously use Loctite on it. It gives you the foot-pound rating to tighten all the bolts down to for both of these. And also, this is what the new one looks like, that's what the old one looks like, and this is the tool you're supposed to use to hold it when you're tightening it down or loosening it. As you can see, it fits on there. Just like that. It's a really tight fit, and then you torque it down or loosen it, whichever. So yeah, as you can see, it works one way. I'm guessing my other one doesn't, but we'll find out what happens when I pull it apart. That's the new one. So anyway, get started on this thing. Oh yeah, and it comes with the oil pump gasket. I guess apparently you got to replace that. So these little guys are just 7mm. So I'm going to start by removing this, and then get down into the brackets down there. Got both clamps loosened up. One there, one down there. Oh man, it's on there. I guess I'm still gonna loosen that other clamp down there some more. Put this up and out of the way. Pretty clamp. Oh yeah, I'm gonna pull that intake off too. So it's that clamp there, and then the bolt up there, and then it comes right out. The next order of business, getting this bracket off, and those are 14mm. Oh wait. Got all the bolts off. There's 4 of them. One up here, one down below here, and then this one here and this one here. As I'm pulling it off, I realize that there's, looks like some kind of locator pins for this thing. So you can do this for the, it's a bracket for the intercooler there. It looks like they definitely use Loctite, that's for sure. So that's what it looks like when you take it out. So 2 bolts on this side, 2 bolts on that side. Yeah, got the got that bracket out of the way now, so I'm looking at these bolts. It looks like a couple of 8s and 412s. So I'm gonna start pulling all these off. So I can pull those off, and these two, I don't believe you pulled that one off, just these 6. She's all loose. Now it's just time to get it off. Pull this thing out of here. Oh yeah. Try not to bum it up. Let's see what this thing looks like. Got a little seal there. Got an oil passage. That's your supercharger. There we go. Spins good too. One of these days I'll do that shaft upgrade kit. These are all Loctited in for sure. I just used my impact to get them out. They were long-winded and difficult to get the wrench way down in there. So, but yeah, there it is. See what the front looks like. Nice and clean. All right. Well, we got that thing off. This is how you know your supercharger clutch is Dunskies. Look, it spins both ways. So now we know for sure that supercharger clutch is done. So go ahead and start taking off the old oil pump here. And I'll show you what bolts on here we need to take off. All right, 2 more 12s to pull out there for the oil line. Looks like all these are Allen heads. They are 5 millimeters. I'm not sure how many of them there are. I'm just gonna start pulling them off. I'll give you a good look down there, what it looks like. All the way down. I think there's a bolt right there too. And let's just start pulling all these off. All right, starting to take these bolts off the oil pump here. Noticing they're all the same length. Quite a few of them on there. I'm just using my little impact here with the 5 mil. I'm just pulling them all off that way. Pretty simple, but just gonna have to know where each one goes. I guess when I'm done, I'll have just use the gasket as my template. Try not to drop them down in there. All right, got the gear out of there and the gasket material off. You can see there in the mirror, I gotta get to that 17 millimeter bolt right there. And that shaft does not come out unless you have a magnet, or if you use the gear and you press down onto the top of that shaft with the gear and move the gear forward, it kind of starts pushing the shaft out. That's one way of getting it out, or a magnet. I didn't have a magnet small enough, so I just pushed down on the top of the gear and then it started pushing out this way. There's a couple collars in there. See that collar right there? You want to make sure that stays in there for when you reinstall the gear. So I just kind of left the shaft like that temporarily. And if you notice, there's a little hole right there. You want to make sure that's facing the right direction when you put it back in. And here's that gear that I pulled out. It was just in here this way. So this has a little collar too here on the end, see there? And it's just brass on the inside of that. Okay, so the gear is off. I took the shaft out. There is a little hole on here, and you want to make sure that that hole lines up the same way that it was last time when you took it out. So I got it in there the way it came out. Here's your oil pump. It's got plenty of oil in there, so I'm not going to need to refill it. And I got the tool on there that holds the supercharger clutch, so you can pull that bolt off. See if I can get the mirror up here. Right about here, see how it lines up with that bolt hole? You're going to take one of your bracket bolts for the intercooler and put it in that hole. What that does is it keeps the engine from turning over while you are trying to remove that bolt. So I'm going to go ahead and do that real quick and I'll show you what it looks like. All right, got that bolt threaded on there. As you can see, it's going to hold that in place while I'm removing the bolt on the supercharger clutch. Oops. There we go. Got that bolt off. It is a left-hand thread. You can see right there the L. That means it's left-hand thread. And then this is also a hollow bolt. Did not know that. Pretty cool. Anyway, go ahead and pull that supercharger clutch out of there now. Let's see if we can get the tool off first. Take that bolt off from up top. Got thread lock on it. It's a little tough to turn with oily hands. Is nice. All right, get you out of there. And supercharger clutch. Old clutch. Yep. No good. Anyway, so I'll replace this thing and be good to go. Now you can see where those two bolts are on the timing chain tensioner. I guess I gotta pull these two bolts off right here, this one and this one. Gotta use Loctite on them too as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and take these two off here. Again, the new ones are button head screws. Oh, fell on the ground. They were from the Yamaha. So those are the new button heads, and put some Loctite on there and pull out one at a time, get those replaced. All right, both button head screws are on there now. It was not easy for me, only because I had to chase the threads on that top one right here. It started binding as I was going in, tightening it down, and for some reason it just started binding up. Flattened out the thread on one end, so I just chased it with a 6mm by 1.0 thread pitch tap and got all the old Loctite out of there, which was blocking it from going in all the way. So anyway, got them both tightened down. If you're going from foot-pounds to inch-pounds like I did, it's 88.8 inch-pounds for torque spec, because it's 7.4 foot-pounds. Anyway, I'll move on to the supercharger clutch now. I have the new clutch on there. Also have the tool on there, and once again, I have threaded on a bolt to hold it in place so it doesn't move forward or backward, thus maybe damaging the motor. So the new one's on there. I'm going to torque this down to 59 foot-pounds as rated on here, and this one does torque in reverse. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. All right, got her all torqued. I'm going to move on to putting the oil pump back on. So I have the gasket back on there. You can kind of see that in the mirror there. With the oil pump, getting ready to put that back on. I just got to make sure I got it clocked right. And it's got oil in here. I don't want to make a giant mess. So I'm going to shut off the camera here and put that bad boy back on. Okay, got the oil pump back on there. So all those bolts for the oil pump, all these bolts are to be torqued to 8.1 foot-pounds, which adds up to about 97 inch-pounds on my tool. Got the oil line back on both sides. So now I'm gonna put the supercharger back on and intake and all that stuff, and then we'll give it a start and see what it sounds like. So yeah, it's the next day now, and something I forgot to mention while you're doing the supercharger clutch on these things, because you're taking the front half of the motor off, you're going to need to drain the oil. That's something I did after I got the oil pump off and didn't realize I forgot to evacuate the oil out of there. So anyway, that's something you probably want to do before you start this project. The supercharger, I put it back together last night, got everything all together and cleaned up. So I'm gonna give it a quick start and you guys can hear what it sounds like with the new supercharger. Alright, so there you have it. You can actually hear the supercharger turning now, all the gears in there. It's kind of one of those things. I guess after about, this one has 135 hours on it, and the supercharger clutch finally went out. So about that time, I guess, I was hoping it would last longer, but at least it's towards the end of the season when it decided to go out. But she's all replaced. I'm going to take it down to the water and make sure there's no oil leaks after a couple of hard runs on it. You'll see me there. Okay, so back on the water. Just a quick run to make sure everything is good, and I'll put her away for the winter.